Good afternoon, YouTube. This is an unboxing without the box. I already took it out because the box is full of peanuts, which is unwieldy to deal with on a camera. So this is a neat little item that's an upgrade, or I should say a reconfiguration of my ham shack. I had a ICOM IC7100 radio, which is currently off the bench because it's boxed up and ready to go. I'm selling it. And that radio is an HF radio, does all the ham bands on the HF bands, and it also does the 2 meters, which is local repeaters and stuff. And I like to have a radio in here on my desk that I can get on the local repeaters with, so I bought this thing, and it's still wrapped here. I want to be careful not to cut that manual. That's an original manual, by the way, and this thing dates, I'm going to say early 70s, possibly late 80s, early 80s, possibly late 70s. I purposely opened this and got it out to make this easier to open on camera, not realizing it would be wrapped like this inside. So I do apologize for having to do this. There we go. I do hope this isn't taped. No, it's just wrapped. So this is an original manual. It's a Kenwood TR 7400A. It's a 2 meter FM transceiver, and it's will be used on the local repeaters here in my area. This is the actual brochure. He didn't say this was included. Was not an eBay purchase, by the way. It's a fellow that I buy from frequently. He has good prices for radio stuff, and he has his own website. He stocks stuff, buys lots, buys old ham shacks and whatnot of people that passed away and things like that. And his name's John Kendall. He has a website, vintageantiqueradios.com, something like that. I will post the link. You will see it in front of you now because I'm editing it in. So this is the cool old original brochure. We don't have a date on it, so I don't know, but these were manufactured in the late 70s. Because it's older, it is a little dated as far as a radio goes. Oh, there's his website. VintageElectronics.com with a dash between vintage and electronics. He's a real good guy. He has good prices. He packs well. I bought a number of things from him. If you don't want to deal with eBay, it's a good way to pick up some radio stuff. I do keep an eye on his stock and buy things from him from time to time. Everything's here. The original power cord wrapped up nicely. The original mic. That is a cute little mic. Look at that thing. It's tiny. I think you can get a sense for how little it is in my hand. It's considerably smaller than a normal hand mic would be. Kind of neat. And it has the original manual, which is wonderful to have. I typically would go searching for manuals. Oh, the serial number's on here. I'll have to see if it matches this radio. I'll bet it does. I'll bet it does. He even has a warranty card. We'll see if there's a date in here. I think ultimately I'll date this when I open it and look at the components inside for date codes. Yeah, there's no date. So I'm not going to bore you with the manual. Here's what we want to get to. The meat of the video is the radio. A little dusty, but looking good. This has good reviews, this radio, on eHam and other places. Built like a tank, looks military, and it does. It's kind of dark green. It's quite heavy. From what I understand, you know, because of when it dates, late 70s, early 80s, there's no surface mount parts. Everything is through hole, circuit boards. The one disadvantage of this, I don't know if you can see that tone pad. I do not have the tone pad. In order to access a 2-meter repeater, a lot of modern repeaters want you to use a tone that your radio puts out that turns the repeater on and accesses it. This has the ability to have a tone in it, but it was an option, and you had to get the right crystal thing to stick in it to access your local repeater. I don't know what's in this, if it has the correct tone for my repeater or not. It's very basic. There is no memories in it. You just turn it on and tune to the station. I thought what I'd do on this video, if I can possibly do it online on the camera, I'm going to have to stop the video and edit this in. I'm going to hook it up and see if we can hear my repeater locally. So I'll be right back. We're all plugged in, and we're hooked up to my antenna. I have a 2-meter antenna up on my roof. And this will be the first power up, and I promise I'm doing this on camera. I'm going to turn the power. Where's the power? Oh yes, there it is. Make sure power's off, volume's down. I have a power supply back there, an Astron 12-volt power supply. We're hooked up. I made sure that I was all hooked up properly. Okay. Let's get the light on here better. I apologize for my lighting. Let me, fluorescent lights wasn't powered up. Oh, I got a surprise. When I went to put the antenna on, it has a quick release. These are really nice. I have a couple of these already. You have a slide thing. You can just quickly release your antenna cables on and off, which is good for grounding them when there's a lightning storm. Very handy to have. That was stuck on the back of it, and a little bonus from John. Must have been on it when he got it. Okay, let's do the power. There we go. We have lights. We have static. The squelch works. Now my local repeater is 47210. So how this works is, I don't know, you can see this switch here changes the one number. Doesn't seem accurate. Well, maybe it is. No. So it's 147 megahertz. And then this one changes the second digit. That's my local repeater, 47210. Let's put the offset for my repeater. You can do negative or a positive offset. My local repeater is a positive offset. So it's actually 147.810 when you transmit, but you're receiving on 147.210. That keeps the radios talking through the repeater from interfering with each other and only transmitting to the repeater itself. I don't know if you know, I know this isn't dedicated only to ham stations, but my channel here, but if you're not a ham radio operator and you don't know, a repeater is basically the precursor of a cell tower. Ham radio and cell phones go together. Cell phones are actually miniature radios, and cell towers are repeaters. You talk on your cell phone, it sends the signal to the tower, it amplifies it and sends it out across the country to other cell towers. That's what a repeater does. The difference being, I think, in a cell tower, it enters into a network, a phone network, and travels through cable as well, the signal. Where a repeater, you are actually transmitting into the tower. It picks up your signal, it amplifies it, and it shoots it out as a high-powered radio signal, so you have a lot more distance your radio will go off the repeater. Where a cell tower, I believe, because to get all over the country, they are actually wired into the network. Cell towers are not. Although, well, I'm not going to digress into that subject. They can be linked to the internet. I should have out of that. Okay, so nobody seems to be on. I'm going to try to access my repeater. Now the tone is off here, and I'm going to hit the thing. It transmits, and we didn't hear anything in response. So it's not accessing the repeater because I have the tone off. And I don't know if this is going to even work because we're going to try burst. Let's try that. Nothing. If it accessed the repeater, you would hear a sound coming back from the repeater, and it would announce the time. We'll try sub, and I'm not sure what that does. No. I'm not accessing the repeater. So I'm going to say that I don't have the proper tone crystal in here. So I'm going to have, there are ways to do it. There's ways to get this thing to make a tone. You can actually buy circuits off of eBay, little circuit boards that will hook into these radios and supply a tone to your output signal to access a repeater. That is probably what I'll end up doing. So without access to the repeater, I could talk to another person with a 2-meter radio that's within my range on what they call simplex, which is a direct frequency, not on the repeater, if someone's close to me. And, you know, without a repeater, I might get, I don't know, 5 to 7 miles on this thing. On a repeater, you can talk 50 miles away or further. But, yeah, no tone coming back from the repeater. So it's not accessing the repeater. It is transmitting, though. So the radio's functional. But the repeater, that's just squelch, is not accessible. Let me try negative, although I'm sure I'm in a positive offset for my repeater. Just for fun. No. Well, nobody's on the repeater talking, so we don't hear anybody talking right now. Let's tune around, because there's other repeaters in my area that I can hear. And I'm just going to go up by kilohertz here, basically. What's that, 100 hertz or something I'm going up by? The tuning's a little funny with this because you have to use multiple knobs to tune. And you have to, you have to know the signal that you're tuning to. Let's try one. See, the 6 isn't working. The 6 does not seem to work. I can get it in the 5. The 4 doesn't work either. Maybe there's something wrong with this. That's not good. This number should change to a 6. It stays on 7. Maybe the switch is dirty, but I don't know. It'll change to 5. It won't change to 4. You should be able to change to a 4, 5, 6, or 7. And I'm only getting the 5 or the 7. That kind of stinks. And I don't blame John for that. He doesn't test everything he sells. He'll power it up and make sure it works and sell it as is, the way he finds it. And he doesn't charge much. I didn't pay much for this radio at all. So it's worth what I paid. But it's not properly working. This will change my low number, the 5 kilohertz. It adds 5 kilohertz. Yeah, the other repeater that's near me is a 1456 number, and I'm unable to get to it. Unfortunately, we'd probably hear people talking on it maybe too. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. There'd normally be people on. But it seems to be working, except for that it does transmit I'll be making future videos on it. I'm going to have to open this case and take a look inside and figure out what's going on with that digit not working, and figure out what's going on with the tone. K2BEW. K2BEW is listening. Let's try a little transmit here. Although I'm not activating the repeater, I don't expect anybody to come back to me, but you never know. They might hear me off the repeater. Alright, I will not... I think I'll end the video here and make some future videos on getting this thing working better. K2BEW is clear. So the reason I'm selling my 7100 is a future project that I'm not going to reveal yet. Reveal. That's going to be in a future video on my channel. That's going to be my winter project coming up. Thanks for watching in 73. Well, I'm back. This is kind of interesting. I started taking the lid off this to look and see what tone board I have installed for the repeater, and I turned it on and nobody's on the repeater, but I went ahead and I hit the thing and listened to this. That tone was my repeater down in Hudson, New York, that my local hand club repeater. So it's hitting the repeater. I don't know why it wasn't hitting the tone before. I didn't do anything other than I took one screw off to take this lid off to see what we had inside. I got the manual open, and let me just show you quick here. Sorry for the flipping around. There's on top of the circuit board, there's an optional tone board that you install, and that gives you the offset for your repeater, which it sends a tone to your repeater. And different repeaters use different tones, and if I had the wrong tone installed, it wouldn't have worked, but hey, it's working. K2BEW listening. I hit the repeater. I'll be back with more. A little proof it's working. These guys are across the river from me, the Hudson River in Greene County. I'm in Columbia County.
I like brown eggs. I don't know. I think everybody says you can't tell the difference, but I like the brown eggs better.
My antenna's pretty good. It has good reception. It's up on the roof of my house. Of course, I'm picking this up off a repeater, so. We're talking about chickens and how many eggs they make if you have them at your house. My brother has chickens, so.
I prefer brown eggs if I can get them, but I'll take the white ones. But what are you gonna do? How about a goose egg? You ready to order them things? Yeah, he's not.
Let's turn the squelch up.
He's just about old. Yeah, I got a landline there from the bride here. I'll get back to you.
Squelch works good.
82NGO, standing by.
Well, welcome back. We're doing a little experimentation. First thing was our display. As you recall, I was only getting 5 and 7 on the digit, not the 4 and the 6. So I popped out my little frequency counter here, my Radio Shack frequency counter. And as it turns out, we're actually transmitting at those missing numbers, but it's simply not changing the digits. So it's not a problem with the radio, it's a problem with the display. I don't know if this will work. I'm going to try it. I'm going to put my frequency counter near the antenna. I picked it up best when I had it right down by the antenna, by the output. I don't know if it'll pick it up here or not. So right now I'm on the 145 1454250. This is upside down. 1454250. And let's see what this says. Yeah, it's not picking it up. I'm gonna have to. I gotta put this on a tripod. Quite a challenge to get the tripod in the right position. I apologize. I know you're looking at this sideways. So I'm still on 144.250 according to the knob. I'm putting the tip of the antenna down near the antenna output. It ain't picking up. Boy, how come this works when you're off camera? There it is. You saw it for a... There it is. 144.250.251. Gotta have it... If I touch the antenna wire, it overpowers it. If I get too far away, it doesn't work. There I am transmitting 144.251. K2BEW testing, and I'm on simplex. I don't think anybody's going to be on this frequency right now, but it is transmitting on 144. Now I'm going to flip it to 145. There we go, 145.251, and now I will flip it to 146. 146.251, and finally to 7. 147.251. That was also the problem when I first powered this up and tried to hit my repeater, and it wasn't functioning. I had it in the 6th position, but the readout said 7, and I was actually on 146, and I thought I was on 147, and the local repeater to me is 147. So just so you're aware, I looked up my local repeater at the in Hudson, and as it turns out, it does not use a tone to access the repeater. So that's why I was able to activate the repeater. It only uses a tone for digital modes. So this, fortunately, my local repeater to me doesn't use a tone. However, this is a website of all the repeaters in New York State, and it lists the tones, and I'm going to try to zoom in here for you. So you see the location of the repeater on the left. You see the frequency of the repeater on the left. Let me focus it. The county or town, the call sign, and then you see that number like 100, 167. Those are the tones. So if you have a blank, then the repeater doesn't use a tone. I can access the repeater with this radio because it doesn't have the tone board installed. So my local repeater to me is the one with that red 110.9 there you see. That's the one I'm hitting, Martindale. It's also Hudson, New York. And the red is there because it means if you use this repeater for digital, which is like digital voice, which I don't have, you have to use the tone because it blocks out interference or something, they said. So looking at the radio, now that I had the top off also for you, I have to zoom back out, I apologize. For this sloppy camera work, I went from the... You see this blank spot with dotted lines around it? That is where the tone board would be installed. There is no tone board installed. And the way this radio was, and by the way, I did find a date code, we're 1977. You had to install the tone board, and you had to pick the tone that you wanted. And you could only put one in at a time. You had to swap them out. But the radio is very clean inside, looks great. Actually, the other side has the date codes, which I could show you if you don't mind waiting a second. I'm going to flip her. I do have the screws out of this cover. And it is working. I have heard people talking on the repeaters. I haven't talked to anybody on it yet because the one repeater I was listening to was not my local one, and you did need a tone to access it, so I could not activate that repeater. Okay, we'll balance that. So if you look at ICs, and for those of you that don't know, most old integrated circuits, ICs for short, that were installed in these older and newer pieces of equipment for that matter had date codes on them. And how they worked was it would be the year and the month. So this is upside down, but on this right here you see an upside down 7701. That's the first, or I'm sorry, that's the week. It's 1977, first week of, so that would be the first week of 1977. That week code would go up to 52 weeks for the year. And, not 52. Yeah. So let me find another one. I was going to show you the older one. I found some from 76. There it is. Try to focus this in. Get the light better. So you see 7643, that's the 43rd week of 1976. So that one was made a little earlier. And the oldest date I found is 7701. So this radio dates from 77. Also, when I opened it up, I found this radio was owned by Mr. Dennis Lindner. And I'll show you his information because he is unfortunately a silent key, meaning he has passed away. And I know that because I looked him up. He lived in Maryland, and his call sign is inscribed in there, and no, that's not a social security number. My grandfather used to do that. People used to do it years ago. He would inscribe your social security number on your belongings in your house for your insurance company. That's a longer number. I don't know what that number is, but that is his call sign, K3NPL. And I looked up his call sign, and sadly, Mr. Lindner is a silent key. SK means silent key, and he was born in he lived in Maryland, so he has passed away. And the fella, Mr. John Kendall, bought his estate because not only was this radio from him, but the Nixie tube frequency counter that I bought from John also had that guy's name on it. So it turns out both of my frequency counter and the radio came from his estate. They probably sold it when he died, and John probably bought it because that's how he gets a lot of his stuff. So I'm happy to report I can now use this with the assurance that even though the readout is incorrect and it says 145, that's actually on 4. This is actually on 5. This is actually on 6, even though it says 7. And this is actually on 7, because it's the digit that's wrong, not the output of the transceiver. So what's causing that error? That will be a troubleshooting thing for the future. I don't even know if it's something I can fix, because a lot of these, and I know this because I've had other radios with the issue of problems with the display. Most displays on these are controlled by the ICs in there, and a lot of the older ICs are unobtainable. They don't make them anymore. So if this digit is wrong because of a bad IC, there's no way to get a replacement part. But it really doesn't matter. As long as I know what frequency I'm on, it doesn't make a difference. It's just a cosmetic situation. So the main thing I wanted to use this radio for, I started to say in my earlier video, and I don't think I ever finished. I want to use this as my base home 2-meter radio for my local repeater, and since my local repeater does not need a tone to access it, I can do it. So let's go to my local repeater back again, which is 147.2 to 10. Here we go. Whoop. Didn't access it. Wait a minute. Let me make sure. I have it on simplex mode. I gotta put the offset for transmit to plus 600. Remember, it transmits on 147.810. It adds 600. And that's so it accesses the repeater. Here we go.
VW repeater.
That was the repeater, so it's working. So now I can talk to people locally in my ham club with this radio sitting in my desk.